Hi, Dan. John Harrington. How are you?
Good.
Dan, you're the Louisville City Supervisor, and you served as Louisville's mayor for a time. Before that, you were the mayor of a town in Missouri. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I was on the city council at Rockport, Missouri for one term, and I was mayor there for one term.
Dan, what brought you to Louisville in the first place?
We moved up here. My wife went back to school at Peru State, graduated with a degree in accounting, and got a job with Mutual of Omaha. So that's how we came to move to Louisville. We knew some people that lived here in town.
It's what made you want to be involved in the city?
I've always kind of been interested in politics. So, like I said, I was mayor at Rockport, on the city council at Rockport.
Sure.
And I just thought we needed to come up with some long-term plans as far as infrastructure.
And you have remarkable skills and knowledge of municipal water infrastructure. You've been able to guide Louisville like an engineer through some very complicated decisions. Where did you learn so much about wells and water treatment and water towers and all that?
Well, my dad worked for a city in northwest Missouri when I was a kid growing up. So, I had experience from helping him, and then, of course, when I was on the city council at Rockport, and also the mayor at Rockport, they're like every other small town. They had water issues, too.
Dan, when were you first concerned about our water supply in Louisville?
Whenever we were having trouble, it was about in 98 or 99, every time we turned around, we were on water restrictions. So, it was obvious that we were it didn't have enough capacity or, there was some sort of problem. So I visited with City Hall about it, and I didn't realize until then how serious it was. The fact that, about the only well that we had to use was virtually plugged. The screen was plugged in. It became evident that, it was a serious problem, and it was one that it would take a long time to solve.
And this was something that we knew in 98?
Well, this problem's been with Louisville. The dirty water's problem's been with Louisville for a long, long time. It's simply because of where the water comes from. It comes off the Platte River bottom, which that water is high in iron and manganese. So it's not specific to Louisville. All the towns along this Platte River have the same problem. To give you an idea, they started work on the temporary well that we're using now in 98. It took until 2001 to get that drilled. So things move very, very slow. When you talk about water as far as permits for wells or any required documentation you need from the state or federal government.
The state is pretty picky about where you can drill and what you can use for water.
There's a couple of different agencies. NRDs are one agency, and then Health and Human Services is another agency that you have to satisfy. So, there's a lot of rules, regulations, and there's some good ideas behind it. We want to make sure we got a clean, protected water supply.
Sure. Dan, you made it possible for us to manage our own water by getting special training for yourself and your staff. What did that involve?
Well, it's a certification process through Health and Human Services. You have to start with a Grade 4 license, and then after you've had that for 3 years, you can take a Grade 3 test. After you've had that for 3 years, then you can take a Grade 2 test. So right now, when we get our water treatment online, it'll take a Grade 3 license to run that. 3 of the 4 employees have a Grade 3 certification. The other employee has a Grade 4, and will be able to take his in about 2.5 years.
In the past, we had to go to an outside vendor to provide that support for the city.
When I took over as mayor, People's Service had a contract with the city of Louisville to take care of the water and the sewer. I just didn't see how that could work long term, so we started getting people certified, and then we actually hired an individual that was certified. I just thought it was long term, it needed to be under the city's control.
When you identified that we were going to need to look at some other options for water, we began negotiating with Rural Water. What was the result of those discussions?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure everybody understands that this is just not Dan Henry. There's been a lot of people involved in this, city council members, former Mayor Dave Pankinen, State Senator Pankinen, he's been involved. Alan Mueller is the mayor now. This has been a cumulative effort. D. Aries has done a lot of stuff here. This isn't just about what I've done for the city of Louisville and the water. I simply am the one that says, hey, I think this will work, and then we head down that path until we come up with something that a stumbling block, So I want to make sure everybody understands that, that this isn't just me.
Understood, but you're clearly the point guy.
Yeah. Well, we tried test wells. We would have liked to have got our water someplace other than the Platte River bottom, because the quality would have been better. But when we done test wells there, the the quantity of water just wasn't available there. I mean, we needed wells that could pump 1,000 gallons a minute. The best well we come up with was 60 gallons a minute. So, it became very obvious that you're not going to be able to drill out here in the hills and get good quality water. You're going to have to drill down on the bottom and make good quality water through treatment.
Okay. Dan, how did it happen that we developed this great relationship with the folks at Game and Park?
Well, we supply Game and Parks with their water at Louisville State Lakes and also with their sewage at Louisville State Lakes. So we already had an agreement with them where our sewer treatment plant is actually sitting on Game and Parks property, or part of Game and Parks property, part of Sun City property. So we had a relationship with them. But Roger Coons, who works at Game and Parks, he's a Louisville guy, and he has helped us tremendously. Him and Jim Swenson both with Game and Parks were a big help. I think they recognized the need for Louisville to solve their water problems simply because, it's in their best interest too. And we looked at that rural utilities district, but what I was afraid of there, when it started out, we were going to be a partner. Then at the end, the NRD said that, no, you'll just be a buyer. And I said, I don't think Louisville's interested in being a buyer.
What's the disadvantage there? I mean, what changes?
Well, if we were a buyer of water, we wouldn't have had any say in how the system was run. There was some talk down there that the quality of that water would go downhill as they pumped it harder. Well, what I was afraid is if the quality went down, we could very well end up with the same quality we have now, be buying it from somebody else. And, maybe they would see to treat it, maybe they wouldn't. So I just didn't see, if we would have been a partner in there with NRD, I think that was a very viable deal. But when they come to us at the end there and said, no, Louisville, this big customer, really wouldn't have any say in the way things were ran, we just didn't see how that could work for us.
And there was a public forum to discuss a lot of these issues some months back. One of the things that came out in the forum is that we built a pretty significant facility. Our ability to produce water is significantly more than probably what the original plan was. What was the thinking there?
What we came up with there was that in doing cost analysis, as you increase the capacity percentage-wise, the cost goes way down. The other thing is that we were afraid that we may not be able to get permits for future wells, so we wanted to make sure our wells had capacity that would take us, this is a fix for Louisville for 75 years. This isn't anything that's going to be over with in 20 years, So nobody knows what's going to happen here. You would think it would grow here. We're close to Omaha, close to Lincoln. Louisville's a nice town. You would think it would grow. And, these things here, you got to plan down the road. It's, what's happening today really doesn't have much effect on infrastructure because you've got to look so far down the road on that.
Dan, are we really going to be a source of surplus water for our neighbors?
Yes, we are visiting with a possible buyer right now of some water, so we hope that all works out. If it doesn't, we will still have capacity to sell. And again, I think, this area, and even southern Sarpy County, it's possible to pipe water across that river. If southern Sarpy County needed water, so,
wow.
There's options in that. Omaha's getting closer to us every day, so.
Dan, was it helpful that the community just passed these 3 propositions on May 13th?
Yes, that was very, very significant. And yesterday evening, Thursday evening, I visited with the city council, and they instructed the city attorney to draft a new water rate ordinance that will reflect rates going down in Louisville. So, we appreciate the support of the townspeople in this, so we thought that we needed to show something back. And, nobody's looking to make money off this. We just want to make sure we have a good, safe drinking water supply and be able to service the debt. That's what we're looking for here.
What is the one thing that you'd like the whole community to know?
That we really appreciate their patience. This has been a long, drawn-out affair, and I'm sure they thought times that we weren't doing anything. And believe me, the people involved in this at times thought we weren't getting anywhere either. But it's coming together pretty quickly now. The treatment plant, I think we will make water down there in June. I hope to have it online using it sometime in the first few weeks of July. So we're getting close. We just ask for some patience here until we get this thing finished up.
Well, Dan, I suggested that we should have a Dan Henry Day, mayoral.
Not interested in that at all.
Okay. Well, I still think that future generations are going to look back and really be very thankful that you've put the energy and have the creativity and expertise to do what you did.
Again, what I'd say, there's a lot of people who think besides me. I had a role in it. By no means was I the only one involved in this.
Okay. Well, Dan, I know you're busy, and I really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes to help everybody understand what was at stake here when we got this done.
Thanks for calling, John.
Bye-bye.